Hi there, I hope you're doing well. My name is Segan Spee. I'm the one who wrote and will be presenting this project. For my topic, I chose to cover prison marriages. I just think that this topic is incredibly interesting, and I've actually had family members who have been married in prison. So it's a topic that I hold dear to me. First of all, I'm going to be getting into what is permitted for courtship. Of course, prison has its rules and regulations. So only a few methods of contact are permitted. Normally it's just like emailing, messaging, on the prison's devices, normally under direct supervision. And then we have a lot of rules that are not allowed in prison. For example, you cannot do the normal dating rituals. You can't go on dates. You can't see each other outside of prison. You obviously don't gain any freedom from being in a relationship other than the emotional aspect of it. You still have to comply with prison rules. And then, is marriage legally binding? Yes. If you choose to get married through the legal process, it will be a legally recognized marriage. You just have to follow all the rules, the laws, and just go through a lawyer. And then proposals. Obviously, inmates don't have access to shopping for rings, so they have to get creative. They normally exchange small gifts. I have an aunt who is proposed to with a cute little drawing. You can also propose over a visit or a phone call or even like a cute romantic letter. And then, how old do individuals have to be? This normally varies depending on jurisdiction. Normally it's the age of 18. However, if you're 17, 16 in some divisions and you have parental approval, you can get married as long as a judge allows it. And then the size. Obviously, prisons have to follow safety rules, so they can't have a whole bunch of people. Some prisons, they don't allow anyone at all. And others, they'll allow a couple of close family members or friends into the prison. Obviously, these people have to be searched before and after leaving and follow the prison rules, but they are allowed. How long is the ceremony? It's not very long. Again, prisons have very strict rules. They can't have like an actual wedding. Normally, it's just a quick legal ceremony, about half an hour. I know my aunt's was actually around 15 minutes. And then arranged marriages in prison. You typically do not find arranged prison marriages. However, if there was an arranged marriage set up before someone was incarcerated, it is possible if they still want to proceed with the marriage. And then, where do they live? Obviously, getting married does not give you any more freedom. The incarcerated person will stay in prison. And then after the ceremony, the free person will just go back to where they were living before. And then after the incarcerated person gets out, they're free to move in with the free person. And then, can they have children? It honestly just depends on if the area allows for conjugal visits. I know that there are some overnight visits allowed in certain counties and other ones don't allow them at all, so it really just depends on the laws in the area. And then social stigmas. Obviously, being in prison carries a lot of social stigma, but it also carries a lot of social stigma for the partner. For example, having to tell people that your significant other is incarcerated can be a very shameful topic and very embarrassing for some people. And then, can couples divorce? Of course, couples can divorce. They just have to go through all the legalities of it. They have to talk to lawyers. They just have to go through the courts. It's normally a bit of more complicated process since an inmate is in prison, but it is manageable. And then, how do they get divorced? They just go through consulting a lawyer. Normally, the lawyer will represent them in court on their behalf. There may be cases where the person is present. And then, normally, terms are discussed strictly through lawyers, but it can be discussed through the divorcees. And then, is remarriage allowed? Yes, remarriage is allowed. You just have to go through the same process of getting married all over again, which can be a little bit tricky. But if you have your heart set on remarriage, you can do it. You just have to go through the courts again. And of course, through your lawyers. And then some final words. Thank you for listening to this presentation. I used unsplash.com for free images and illustrations that are in public domain. And then I also used Prison Wedding Rules, No Cake, No Lace, but Lots of Love, which was an incredibly insightful little art